Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday night edition of the Around the Ropes radio show. And guys, I know we've had a lot of interviews, and it seems like we're going down memory lane and bringing back old-time guests, but this is one guest that I didn't realize actually beforehand that it's been since the early days. But coming back to the show, he is independent wrestler and now esteemed podcaster, the one and only Tristen Law. Tristen, welcome back. How you been, my friend?
Look, man, I've been good. You know, I'm making my own waves in the podcast world. You know, I finally decided to jump on YouTube. I'm live just like you, weekly for right now, and I'm growing 497 followers, subscribers on YouTube. I'm building a community here, and I'm glad that you and I can sit down tonight and talk.
Absolutely. I always love having on, fellow people who are in the podcasting game, because they know if all of a sudden, I start, I've been doing this for a number of years now. And still to this day, 2 minutes before I hit that live button, all of a sudden I start getting that feeling in my stomach, is something going to go wrong?
Yep.
And then once we go, and it's funny, I've done enough of these, but it's once we go live and we start talking, I'm like, okay, it's all gone. I don't know if you get that same feeling.
I get that. I got that feeling when I used to wrestle, and I get that feeling now when I do my own podcast, because that's why I do live. What I actually learned that feeling is anxiety, and I get that feeling now. And what I do is, before I go live, let's say I choose to go live at 12 p.m. noon. If I'm live at 12 p.m. noon, I'm up at 9 a.m. prepping to make sure everything is right. Because part of me, I'm somewhat of a perfectionist. I want everything just to work right. So what I do is 30 minutes before, I disconnect the Wi-Fi, I plug in the Ethernet, and then I just go live. I just let the stream run. I test my audio, I test my video, I test all the transitions, I make sure everything works. And then I hit the go live button on YouTube at 12 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock, on the dot, with 1 second, something goes wrong. It's happened, bro. It's happened. One time, my audio dropped out.
Believe me, when you've been doing it as long as I have, there's nothing you haven't seen. It's the one time I can turn around and you would laugh at this, being that you used to wrestle. It's the one time I can pull the veteran card in this, and I can play I've seen it, I've done it, I've dealt with it. So nothing. So if you turn around and say, "Oh, I'm doing a show," and all of a sudden my screen goes black, I'll be like, "Yeah, that's happened to me plenty of times."
It happened. I have two screens in my studio, right? I have one screen that I use to monitor the YouTube chat, and then I have one screen that I use to monitor what I'm sending out to the world. And one day, in the middle of the show, the screen just goes black. Now I have to, you know what? You just can't sell it. The term that we use in wrestling, I can't sell it. I can't put it over. So I just got to focus on the one screen and make it work. One time, I was doing a whole entire interview with somebody, and I started and I did the intro, and I couldn't hear him. Why couldn't I hear him? Because I forgot to turn up their volume. Bro, everything happens, bro. Everything happens.
Believe me, like I said, I get it. I've been there. I've been doing this stuff since 2011. So there's nothing I haven't seen yet. And it's a weird feeling. It's almost like, and obviously you could attest to this. Obviously tonight I don't have an intro right now because I'm in the process of rebranding still everything. But as soon as that music hits and that light says, and it says in the corner live, I get that almost like that burst of energy. It's almost like being on a drug, almost, and you're getting that sensation. And I sit there and I'm like, okay. That's when I kind of sit there in my head when the intro's playing. I'm like, you've been here before, go.
And that's what I used to tell people when I was training them or helping them get along with their first match. I used to always say, just do what you do. Just do what you do when you're in the school. So I tell myself the same exact thing, bro. When you hit live, just do what you do. But for me, I have a whole entire theme song. And what I do is that when I go live, I put a swoosh into it. And I know that once I hear that, it goes, shoo. Once I hear that, okay, no time to play The people are waiting for your audio, and I give them welcome to the. Actually, I could even do my intro now, but it's like welcome to the Tristen Law Show. It's your first time here. Welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristen Law, semi-retired pro wrestler, and your host. Today, I'm sitting here with John of the all-new ATR Network, and we are talking today and having a full-fledged conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Believe me, my intro, I've tried to, it doesn't work out. I try to pay homage to Dave LaGreca of Busted Open.
Okay.
Doing the welcome, but for some reason at 8 o'clock at night after being at work all day, my voice doesn't want to get that high.
Okay, that's fair.
But I want to start off, obviously, like I said, it's been a while since you've been on, and so now you said you're semi-retired or you're fully retired now?
I am semi-retired. I would like to go back, but I would like to not go back. I'm having too much fun podcasting. I'm having way too much talking about it, giving my brothers and sisters the opportunity to come on and interview. I'm just waiting for my schedule to be nailed down a little bit more. Once my schedule's nailed down a little bit more, I'm going to be bringing at least twice a month. I'm going to be bringing live interviews. So, I am semi-retired. I say I'm semi-retired because I'm never really retired.
I feel like in wrestling, it doesn't matter if you're on the independent scene or you're in WWE or AEW. You can sit there and say you're retired, but they always come back. Except I know we got Cena, who is saying right now, come December he's done. But again, I'll believe it if all of a sudden we don't have an event out in Saudi Arabia next year, and all of a sudden you hear the music being played.
Right.
But obviously, there's been a lot of stuff going on in wrestling right now, and I want to kind of pick your brain on some of them. And I mentioned Cena, and obviously this weekend we got Summerslam coming up. From a wrestler's perspective, how have you felt about Cena's heel turn?
I remember when Cena was going into the Elimination Chamber, and I remember on my own channel, I did a prediction show, and I said that John Cena's going heel, and everybody was like, "No, John Cena can't turn heel. John Cena can't turn heel. He's getting ready to retire." I'm big on Threads, at the Real Big Tris on Threads. And I went on Threads and I said, John Cena's going heel. And everybody said the same exact thing. Oh, John Cena can't turn heel. And I said, why can't John Cena turn heel? They said the reason why John Cena can't turn heel is because he's getting ready to retire. And I'm telling them that the book for pro wrestling, WWE right now is in charge of the book. They hold the book. And they can rewrite the book any which way they see fit. So when John Cena turned heel, I just reclined my chair back. Because you know what? I think that a lot of people say, well, John Cena is going to turn back babyface. Well, you know what? Maybe he can. He can. Based on some so what I like to do on my channel, the Tristen Law Show, is that I like to look at the storylines and just give my take on it. Not critiquing it, but just saying, hey, this is what I feel is going to happen, and I justify it. So, I see some things in John Cena that might make him even turn babyface. The time that John Cena decided that he was going to walk out because he was tired, that was, and Cody Rhodes came and got him and said, no, you're not going anywhere, and then forced John Cena to write his name on the contract. I think that's real babyface-ish of Cena, because he was walking away and then Cody Rhodes, unprovoked, came and got him and threw him back in the ring. I don't know. Well, I think that the contract is not even valid. It's not valid. And everybody was saying to me online on Threads, oh, well, it's pro wrestling. Yes, I know it's pro wrestling. But if Cody Rhodes wins, he should beat John Cena. Here's how I say. I'm giving you the prediction right now, John.
Yeah.
If Cody and Cena are Sunday night, not even Sunday, it even worked better on Saturday. Cody and Cena are Saturday night, the main event. Cody Rhodes beats the brakes off John Cena. Come Monday, oh, Cody Rhodes having to celebrate. We're not having a celebration because the contract was never valid. John Cena doesn't even have to stay. He can go away for a while because he doesn't have many dates left on his contract. No. So he can go away for a while and then eventually come back and say, you know what? That match was invalid. That match can't happen. I'm back, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to give me back the belt, and if you want it, do it again. John Cena can go away until the Royal Rumble.
Well, that'll be tough, though, because he's retiring in December.
Oh, right. A lot of people say he's retiring in December. Okay, fine. So he could come back in Survivor Series. Come back the night after Survivor Series.
Well, I know from what I saw, he's coming back. I think he has a few SmackDown appearances in August. I know he's going to be at Clash in Paris, I think. They already promoted him. And I think he's also going to be, if I remember correctly, they're doing another Australia show in October. And I think he's going to be on that. So I think that I don't think we're going to see him as frequently as we've been seeing him. Because like you said, it is trickling down. But now let me ask you this, though. Do you think that, that this whole notion of, the Cena heel turn didn't work? Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that we saw Rock at the Chamber and then that was it?
So I felt that The Rock showing up to the Chamber, and definitely with Travis Scott, it was a waste of time, but it's like, it doesn't even feel like John Cena is an agent of The Rock. It feels like John Cena is just rogue and just by himself right now. We still do have SummerSlam, the opportunity for The Rock to come and even tell the story just a little bit more. It's something that is 100% possible, but I feel like the heel turn worked. You know why it worked? Because nobody saw it. If you watch WWE Unreal, and anybody out there right now, if you've not watched WWE Unreal, watch WWE Unreal, because it gives you the opportunity to live through the storyline from the other side. I felt the anxiety of Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, everybody that was playing along in the back. You feel the anxiety. So I say that you have to... The heel turn worked. It worked 100%. And I just tell people just sit back and just see what happens. We all know what we like. Everybody wants John Cena to return babyface. I mean, to leave going to babyface. But honestly, if they are rewriting the book, I can't remember anybody that was a heel on their way out. I personally think that John Cena could just walk out, close the door as a heel. Because on his last match, they're still going to give him a standing ovation.
I feel like we're getting that now with him. I feel like there's been plenty of times now when he's supposed to be the bad guy, quote unquote, and he's still getting the cheers now. Because I just feel like with Cena, the issue is, and I agree with what you're saying, nobody saw it coming, and we live in a day of age now where everything 9 times out of 10 gets spoiled on social media, and I personally think it's idiotic. I love the fact, and I'll give an example. Go back to Slammiversary. You're going to see my point here in a second, okay? Everybody knew AJ Styles was going to be there. TNA pretty much spoiled that. He still got a pop. But I still personally think, and I was in the building for the show, the one that got the bigger pop was Bully Ray. Because nobody saw that coming.
Right.
And sorry to get you off there, but that's when I like wrestling, is when you don't see it happening. And you kind of, it's almost like going back, to the years before we had social media. And, you had to sit there, like, great example, when Zbyszko, and I'm going back years ago on this one here, when Larry Zbyszko turned on Bruno Sammartino in Shea Stadium. Nobody saw that coming. I mean, we were lucky, and this goes back a couple years ago. We had Larry Zbyszko on this show.
Oh, really?
Yes. And he even said that he had to get a police escort out of that arena that night.
Attaboy.
Because there were fans who legitimately went.
But I remember times like... Oh, scammers are calling you too? Don't worry, they call me all the time as well too. They actually called me right before I got on. I told the scammers, look, call me back. I'm hanging out with John. We're going around the ropes. Just give me a call back. But when Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the day when he was rescuing Stephanie McMahon, he didn't know who the higher power was all along, and then they pulled off the hood and it was Vince McMahon. It was me, Steve. It was me all along. Different stuff like that. Kane's brother. When Undertaker's brother Kane was making the debut, you knew Kane was coming, but you didn't know what was coming. There was a long time you didn't know who Kane was.
But that, to me, is when wrestling is good. When you don't have, like, half the time, like, especially before a big show, I hate going on Twitter. I'm going to be completely honest with you. because you get the people like Sean Ross Sapp or Meltzer or any of them who sit there and say, oh, we just got word that so-and-so is backstage. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
To me, I look at it this way. If I'm a fan, me being a fan, you being a fan, whoever, I don't care that so-and-so is backstage.
Yeah.
They're not appearing. If they're not going to appear, why does it matter? To me...
Because they get to build the clout that says, oh, well, I knew that John Cena was going to be there. I knew that he was going to be there, so that's how I knew. It's the clout. It's clout chasing. That's what they're doing. They're clout chasing.
In the history of pro wrestling, which was Cena and obviously Hulk Hogan, which we're going to get to in a little bit. Why do you think then that everybody loved Hogan's heel turn?
Nobody knew it was coming. It would have worked, but it wouldn't have had the same exact effect. To where, like, when John Cena's heel turn is on the same exact parallel as Hogan's heel turn, and when those guys turned, they sucked the air out of the room because you couldn't believe what you were seeing.
But I get what you're saying. I just think, to me, we live in a day of age where I wish people would, not people, but I wish people, especially on X, wouldn't feel like, okay, I'm on Twitter, I could be a journalist type of deal. Because to me, you get somebody who's going to sit there and say, oh, I know this is going to happen. And then you look at their thing and they have 3 followers and their profile photo is of an egg. Yeah, I can't. But then the funny thing is, how many people then start buying the shit?
Right.
That's the funniest thing. It's like we sit there as fans. And yeah, I get the notifications on Twitter and stuff like that. And I look and I go, okay, it is what it is. Yes, sometimes, do I laugh when those become true? Yeah. But 9 times out of 10 when they're not, and I'm like, but then people still buy into that crap. Right. And that's what I laugh at with this. I feel like going into, and I still think, as much as I would love for them to main event on Saturday, I think they're getting the main event on Sunday. There's a part of me that thinks that the main event on Saturday is going to be Roman and Jay versus Bronson and Braun. That's just how I think it's going to happen.
I don't think so. You're going to make me go look at the whole entire WWE card so I can tell you who, the whole entire Summerslam card, so I can tell you exactly who's going to be the main event. But I think I'm on the line of where I'm going to be disagreeing with you, because I think there's definitely bigger matches than that. The only reason that match could be the main event that night is if it has major implications. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first match. If I was going to do a match, and let me look at the full card here, because they are not giving the full card here, because it has to be big implications for it to be the main event. I see that just being the curtain jerk. I just see it being the first match. So they gave us night 1. So night 1 is Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, Randy and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Gunther versus Punk, Judgment Day versus Flair and Alexa Bliss, Roman and them, and Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross. If I was to pick a main event, I would probably, Jelly Roll would be nice to go off with him winning and standing over. It's like, oh my God, it's the big thing that everybody's talking about going into the next day. Because you got a main eventer out of Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. There's nothing wrong with Logan Paul at all. But to end SummerSlam in a match, so fine. Maybe Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. But I think if it's Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, I say Jade Cargill wins.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill wins. But I see the first match of the night. The first match of the night could be, well, no, you got the World Heavyweight Championship match. You know what? I wouldn't be too upset with Gunther and CM Punk as the main event. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. I just think, to me, if you're getting, I think Jade and Tiffany, I think would have had a much different feel to it had Naomi never cashed in when she did.
Right. Because now it's like, ooh, is she going to cash in? Because I always penned that she was going to cash in there. But I still feel in my heart that Bianca Belair, that, you know what, maybe Bianca Belair might be. I think Bianca Belair is involved with the fact that Jade Cargill got hurt.
Oh, I wouldn't be. I mean, remember Bianca when she was down in NXT and she was the heel. She was great. A lot of times I've noticed wrestlers are better as heels than they are as baby faces.
A lot of people always told me that I was good as a heel, and I think in order for you to be a good heel, you have to be a really nice. I just personally think, in my personal opinion, you just got to be a really nice guy. And I think for me, I enjoyed being a heel. Like they said on WWE Unreal, in order for you to be a good heel, you have to be okay with people not liking you. And I was always okay with people not liking me. I always wanted you to see me in the parking lot and try your luck. Try your luck. I'm not saying that I'd win, and I'm not saying that I'd lose. But you know what? At the end of the day, we might have a whole entire new respect for each other.
It's funny because there is one match I am looking forward to that I'm very curious to see where this one match gets place. And that's a six-pack ladder TLC match for the SmackDown tag titles. With Motor City.
Yeah. That could be the opener for night one, for night two.
I was good. That has to open because you got, and I love the fact that they're actually giving the tag titles a chance here.
Right.
But that match when they announced it, and they kind of were hinting at it for a while. The fact that every week it would be like, okay, well, we're going to take DIY, put them up against Motor City Machine Guns. And then we're going to take Fraxium and put them up against Street Profits. The only one I'm curious to see is the team of Andrade and Rey Fenix. Because I don't know why. I have this theory. Somehow, Penta, because we haven't seen Penta in a couple of weeks.
Say it.
Penta takes out Andrade, and we get the Lucha Brothers. I don't know why, but to me, it's just in the back of my mind. That's how I see it playing out.
You know what? I wouldn't be upset with that either, because it would be, he's magically taken out. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, he needs a replacement. And then all of a sudden, who could the replacement be? It'd be his brother. And the story going into that could be, I didn't want my brother to go for the tag team championships on the first ever 2-night SummerSlam without me. Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's going to be the very interesting thing to see what that is. When you look at it, it's like, okay. I mean, I can't really see anything else because when they paired the two of them together, Andrade and Rey Fenix, I like them working together because, they're both of the Lucha Libre, have the Lucha Libre background. But I just felt that it was and then all of a sudden, we don't see Penta on TV for a couple of weeks. But you get announced that Rey Fenix is getting a tag title match.
Right.
But it's with, but then I could also see another scenario playing out. Still going into eventually us getting Lucha Brothers is somehow, let's say they do happen to win. And I was talking about this on my show on Tuesday. If I had to pick 3 teams who I think could win that title, because it's 6 teams, it could be a whole mess of people.
Right.
I did say Andrade and Rey are one of those teams that I could see. But I can see all of a sudden the scenario where all of a sudden they win and you start to see a little bit of dissension between the two of them. And then all of a sudden, couple months, let's say you get down to Clash in Paris, for example, which is only going to be a couple weeks after. And all of a sudden a masked individual. And I know Penta wears a mask before, the IWC comes in with the pitchforks at me. I know he wears a mask. But what I'm saying is, almost like how R-Truth came back
right
a couple months ago, or Ron Kinless, now we have to call him by his right name.
No, he's R-Truth again.
That whole thing I don't get. But I think if you do that, all of a sudden it's revealed that it's Penta, and then all of a sudden he turns around and goes, we were supposed to get here together, you're my, played into that a little bit, and then all of a sudden you can start to really have Rey Fenix kind of feel like confused. Almost like, okay, well, who should I go with? Should I go with family or should I go with Andrade? I think you had the Lucha Brothers. Just hear me on this one. You had the Lucha Brothers to that tag team division of the Motor City Machine Guns, the Fraxium, Street Profits, DIY. I'm sorry, you know what that reminds me of? Attitude Era. Remember how loaded the Attitude Era, how loaded the tag there.
Yeah,
and that's, to me, I think the only way you can do it. I mean, I wish they would add some of those teams to Raw, because let's be honest, the Raw tag teams absolutely suck right now.
I think it's terrible that they have 2 sets of tag team championships. Like, I used to make fun of AEW, saying that AEW has more championships than Solomon had wives. But, I think that WWE's got them beat at this point.
Yeah, and especially I think they're announcing a few more titles coming up soon. From what I saw, I think this coming weekend they're also going to have the WWID finals. And, of course, they got to crown a champion because, WWE, you're going to have 85 champions.
But they have the Evolve Championship.
I honestly don't understand the difference between the Evolve title and the WWID title. Like, I don't get what the difference. I mean, the WWID title I think is going to be more for, like, if they're on, obviously if they're at shows, it can be defended type of deal.
Right.
That's my assumption. But again, what makes that different than the Evolve title?
Correct. That it's not the Evolve. It's not called the Evolve title.
I mean, to me, I just think right now, I think coming into this weekend, I said this on my show on Tuesday, coming out of this coming weekend with SummerSlam, I think it's going to tell us the telltale sign of what the fall is going to be like for WWE.
Yeah, because I love the fact how I was saying a couple months ago on my podcast is that, after WrestleMania, I was like, man, if this is what it's like after WrestleMania, what was it, Money in the Bank? I was like, if this is what it's like for Money in the Bank, imagine what the summer's going to be like. Now, yeah, this is definitely going to be setting the stones for what it's going to be like in the fall. And golly, and we're almost back to WrestleMania again when you really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you have, but what I'm just curious to see though is obviously I went over the card on the show, on my show on Tuesday. I think realistically, to me, the biggest match obviously I said before is the 6-pack TLC match, because I think a lot of the matches I feel like we've seen them already. Like Gunther and Punk, yeah, that's gonna be great. But the thing that I feel like is kind of shadowing over them is Rollins right now. Rollins does hold Money in the Bank, and we know Rollins and Punk have their issues.
Maybe Rollins really not that hurt. I don't know. We haven't really gotten much on it, and you know what? They don't. WWE doesn't owe us to tell us that Seth Rollins really hurt or not. They don't owe us to tell us.
And my thing is, we talk about Rollins here. I don't know how you feel, but I have a big problem with that whole faction now, with him, Bronson, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, because I feel like they haven't told the story yet of why, as a fan, I should care about them.
Because there was Paul Heyman. You always watch everybody that Paul Heyman's been with. The only person I don't think that's ever been anybody that was with Paul Heyman is Ryback, but we don't talk about Ryback.
Yeah, but what about Curtis Axel?
We don't talk about him either.
Those are the forgotten ones.
Those are the forgotten ones, right? But you got people like Roman Reigns. Bravo. When I talked about it on one of my previous episodes, was that Roman Reigns, they were stuffing dog food in his face, and a year later he was the tribal chief. Like, imagine, full turn.
But look at Brock. Brock is the same thing. I remember he won the Universal title a couple of years ago, and he had the title for over 500 days. I mean, personally, I was saying on their show, I think it was stupid what they did with him with that belt, because I felt like it kind of diminished that belt when all of a sudden we would go like 2 months without seeing him or the belt. But, and I think, talking about titles right now, I want to give a shout out to TNA right now with what they're doing. Because I don't know if you've been keeping up with what TNA's been doing right now.
I'm trying. It's a lot of wrestling to watch.
Oh, believe me, I get it. But we had just had Slammiversary. And obviously we know now Trick Williams and JC Jane hold the biggest titles in TNA. And obviously we know they're not TNA stars.
Right.
right now the biggest title in that company is Leon Slater and Steve Macklin. Those are and mind you, Macklin I think holds what they consider to be like the IC title,
Right.
in TNA. And I don't know why, but I have this feeling we're gonna get some sort of invasion angle soon. And I still think we got War Games coming up.
I wouldn't be too upset if TNA was in it, because I feel like when you're looking at the relationship between TNA and AEW, I felt like it was only one side, and I felt like, you know what? The only reason why it felt one side is because AEW was trying to figure out their identity. AEW was trying to just get into bed with anybody and see if they could just make a baby. They weren't established. It ended up having to pay child support at the end as well too, because the relationship didn't work. But I think that WWE, through and through, they know who the hell they are. They might morph a little bit every couple of years, or they might evolve, they might mature every couple of years, but they know who they are. So by them being in bed with TNA, I think it's the best thing that's ever happened since the original WWE network. I said it.
I mean, also the fact that, yes, like I said before, Trick Williams and JC Jane do hold the two biggest titles in TNA. And I was saying this on my show recently. The biggest appeal that's going to happen now is you can get more eyes on TNA because of the crossover.
True.
But I just think before this starts going down the road of what we saw with AEW and TNA, I'm just going to say this right now. I think somebody from TNA has to win a WWE title. Because if you're going to go down that road, because I know this last night actually, Ethan Page took on Santino Marella for the NXT North American title. And Ethan Page won. So I'm like, okay, fine. But eventually, somebody from TNA has to, because I love what has happened. Don't get me wrong. I'm just afraid they're going to go down the road that we saw with AEW. Because how is it fair to TNA where you're having Trick, JC Jane, winning the titles and not even with the company?
I think it's one of those things. It's like you just got to wait and see what happens. You got Bound for Glory coming. Like, you couldn't just have everybody come to Slammiversary and it's like, all right, well, that's nice. But then, like, you want to get them past Slammiversary. When I used to go to TNA all the time, it used to be, this is way back in the day, right when Moses was getting ready to part the Red Sea. I used to go to TNA all the time, and I used to always hate that no matter what, every single month Jeff Jarrett would beat Marcus Corvon, or what was his name over there? Monty Brown. He beat Monty Brown. He beat Jeff Hardy. He beat every single person. I'm like, yeah, I just want one person to win. But I feel like it's going to be a little bit more. I don't think that TNA is in this environment to where they'd be stupid enough to where they would allow it to where does it benefit them. They learned already from AEW that it needs to be beneficial to them as well too. And I think we just have to wait.
No, I get that. And what I'm very curious to see though is, does WWE eventually buy TNA? I something just tells me, because think about it this way. Why was it since this whole TNA thing started, we've had guys like Joe Hendry. Obviously we had the System on a couple weeks ago. We had Masha on. We had Jordan Grace on, obviously before she made the move from TNA to WWE. But if you notice, they're picking certain, okay, another great example, the Rascals were on WWE. So it's like they're picking certain people that, I don't know if it's a trial run where they're like, okay, well, we know their contract comes up in a couple months. Let's see how they do in WWE. Oh, we like them. Oh, okay, well, we'll just sign them when they're done. I just wonder if WWE has the mindset of, well, we can buy TNA, then we don't have to worry about spending money to get these guys, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that buying TNA is a little bit too much. I think that's a little bit too much of a reach, and let me tell you why. Yeah. At this point right now, WWE has the milk. They don't need the cow. The cow is TNA. They only have to pay whatever that fee is for the one-off appearance, and if they come back again, they pay again. Maybe they foot their travel or what it may be, but they're not responsible for maintaining that contract. They have an agreement between themselves and AEW that says, hey, when I want to use X, Y, and Z, we'll talk about the storyline, we'll use X, Y, and Z, and when I'm done, I send them back to you. So WWE is not carrying the weight of actually having to pay that person whether they work or not. Why would I don't think that WWE would buy them unless TNA is in some kind of financial trouble. But the only reason that WWE would buy TNA is only for one reason only, and that is
For the library.
the library. That's it. Because they have so many people that are in TNA, that were in TNA, that are in WWE right now, or so many of their legends that went to TNA, after they were done. It's like, yeah, it would be worth a lot. But I don't think that it would be a smart move for WWE to buy TNA, at least not right now. Especially if they're doing good on their own, they're not complaining that they're losing money. They're filling the house with Slammiversary, with Slammiversary, and I think they're going to continue to do the same exact thing. I think next year's Slammiversary is even going to be bigger and better. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw TNA in Madison Square Garden next year talking about they're running a show. We just got to wait and see. But I definitely don't think that TNA is for sale, and I definitely don't think that TNA, that WWE is interested in buying them and carrying that contract load. But WWE does get the ability, though, to sample, to try out talent, to see how they work, and then make that option to say, you know what, all right, this person works great, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to utilize that person, and when their contract is done, they come over. Carlos Silva even said, hey, look, it's the nature of the business that people will sign, that people will go to WWE, they will work, and then when their contract is done, that they'll buy them. He's not afraid of that because he's looking at the long term. The long term is that WWE is the shot in the arm that TNA needed. TNA doesn't have good TV, meaning that it's not live, and that it's not live, it's not available everywhere. But what they're offering the ability that you can see their stars, learn about their stars from WWE programming, which is global. It's global. Now you're going to go over and to see what TNA is offering.
Well, the one thing I like with what TNA is doing right now is the fact that they're going after the bigger venues. As we saw Slammiversary on Sunday, they're going to be up in Lowell, Massachusetts for Bound for Glory. I know there's been rumblings of a TV deal happening where they're going to be where it's almost like the Spike TV days, where they're actually going to be on an actual TV deal. From what I've heard, it could be, I think it's Tubi, FS1, and A&E. I heard of the three names that are being thrown around. And obviously, I'm going to be honest with you, I think out of any of them, I think Tubi would probably be the best option because that's where TV's going now.
Yeah.
You saw it with Raw going to Netflix. Eventually, SmackDown's going to go to Netflix.
Hopefully. I'm crossing my fingers because I want to cancel that cable bill.
I think in due time, I think that's where we're going to be getting TV right now. Is we're going to get where we're getting TV where you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, we have to get good ratings. The ratings don't care. The ratings for certain companies don't matter anymore. And they know that linear TV, like watching on regular television, and I figure next 10 years is going to become obsolete.
I feel that TV will be around just like regular radio is, but it'll just be lesser of what it is. Like back in the day, people used to sit around and listen to the radio. Like, oh my God, this show is coming on the radio, and they're going to listen to Masterpiece Theater, I guess, on the radio. I don't know, I made that up. But then TV started becoming big, and now not only did you get to listen to it, but you get to watch it. But now you got the internet. Do you know the number one streaming platform in the world? You know what platform? Take a guess.
I'm guessing WWE.
It's YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Yeah,
YouTube is the number one streaming app on the planet, and most people that are using YouTube, English is not their first language. Yeah. So YouTube even mentions that the majority of people that are watching, they're watching on their televisions. I watch a lot of YouTube, bro. The only time I watch YouTube on my phone is when I'm not in the house. But I watch YouTube, bro. When I'm done, I'm going to go watch some cop videos where people are getting arrested. Hopefully somebody gets tased. I might go watch a little bit of wrestling. But, like, YouTube streaming is killing TV little by little, and I can't wait to see where it goes. That's why I'm working on building my whole entire media brand, my media company, and it's going to be fully on YouTube, where 7 days a week we're going to talk about pro wrestling. And I think that Tubi is definitely a good space for TNA to go because A, it's free, right? The barrier of entry is real low. but there has to be something in it for TNA to where they can obviously make their money. They can still run ads, and imagine how many more people are going to go over to Tubi. And Tubi's owned by Fox.
But also, you remember, we have, what's his face? Evolve is on Tubi already. So it's not like they don't have pro wrestling already on there. And also, because you have that crossover with WWE, you can turn around and put ads in for NXT on CW and get people to come over.
Right.
I feel like that's all it's going to help with. But I want to also look now, obviously, in the entirety that this show has been around, and as of this November, it'll be 4 years. One company that I feel like I've had more rants in me. I feel like I've had more record rants in me than any company out there. There's a little company called AEW, All Elite Wrestling. And I don't know what to make of them anymore because they're so big. And, you're talking about a company that's not doing good ratings-wise. I still see, when, they come out and say, oh, so, this, AEW just got this amount of people watching. I can't tell you the last time I saw them break 1 million. That's why Eric Bischoff, I think, said it last week or 2 weeks ago. I think coming out of Slammiversary, he said it. That TNA is going to be the number 2 company in the promotion game. Come next year, he's not wrong on that. Because look at the joke that AEW has become. When you could sit there, and I don't even have to watch a full show. I can just go to social media, I can go to Twitter, I can go to TikTok, watch clips and know, okay, this happened, that happened.
Right. I watched All in Texas on YouTube. I mean, on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
That's how I watched it. But you see, my thing with AEW is that I felt in the first 4.5 years, AEW is trying to figure out who they are. Were they the alternative to WWE? Were they the alternative to sports entertainment? Were they were their fans the hardcore wrestling fans that like the deep cuts like Roosh and all the other people there? Are their fans the people that felt that WWE kicked them out the bandwagon when they changed? Are their fans? Are the fans of AEW the people that felt slighted when WCW got bought by WWE? I don't know. But I think that today, this day and age, AEW knows exactly who their fans are. And they're playing to their fans. I think the fans I come to realize that AEW is not for me. I watched an episode of Dynamite 2 weeks ago and I enjoyed it. I watched it from start to finish. And I rarely watch Dynamite from start to finish. But I watched AEW Dynamite and I enjoyed it. And I meant to watch it again, but I was busy last week with my kid. So I might take a look at it when we're done now, or maybe watch it tomorrow. I don't know. But I know that AEW is not for me. I feel that what AEW does real well is the wrestling portion. When you compare it to WWE, WWE does the entertainment portion real well. I'm not saying that there's bad wrestlers in WWE, and I'm not saying that there's bad entertainers in AEW. But when you're a diehard AEW fan, when you pull up the chair or pull up your phone or whatever way you watch, the reason why you're watching AEW is because you want good wrestling, followed by storylines. When you're watching WWE, you're pulling up to the chair because you want storylines. You want that soap opera. You want that drama. And then you have TNA. I think what TNA does well and how they fit is that they do a little bit of both.
No, I completely agree with you. I just feel like with AEW, and if you talk to any fans who's like a diehard AEW fan, first of all, there's this notion that if you're a diehard AEW fan, it means you hate WWE.
And I don't think that's right.
I hate it because to me, like I do the show live. Similar to you, I do the show live Tuesday nights 8 to 10 is when we're live, and I've said it for a while. I stopped talking about AEW on the show for the longest time because I felt like every week I would sit there and figure out, okay, well, what am I going to talk about? And then when it came to AEW, what was I going to sit there and say? I was going to have another rant in me because, they decide, oh, we're going to take wrestler A and wrestler B, put them together in a match, but not tell a story as to why the fans should give a rat's ass about it. I'm sorry. The biggest issue I have...
They do. The AEW fan only cares about wrestling. They just want a good match. You and I, we're born and bred. Well, I don't know if I was bred in New York City. I could have been bred anywhere in the planet. But we were born and raised in New York, in the Northeast region. And because of that, we have WWE in our blood. We have WWF in our blood, right? And what we've been accustomed to with WWE for the past, for me, I'm about to be 40 at the end of next month. So for the past 35 years, all I've known was WWE. Yeah, I watched WCW. Yeah, I watched ECW, but I was always still a WWE fan. I was still a WWF fan. And the reason why I was a WWF fan is because of the style of wrestling that they presented to me. They presented to me the storylines. They presented to me the Undertaker. The Undertaker is a character that could not really work in AEW. Why? Because of a different style of wrestling. When you look at WCW was more reality-based, which forced WWE to evolve, to become a little bit more reality-based, but still give you the smoke and mirrors that you were getting. So when people like me and you, we watch AEW, it's not for us because that's not the style of wrestling that we enjoy. But if you're a wrestling fan and you just want to get a good wrestling match, you're going to get that from AEW every single night. Because I don't understand how you can give a guy 10 super kicks and he still walks around like it's nothing. His jaw should be behind his head. But in AEW, the fans love it. They eat it up.
That's what I agree with you. And obviously, I'm not talking from an in-ring perspective. I've always said when I do the show or I do any special, I'm always talking from the fans' perspective. And to me, when I'm sitting there, you got the Young Bucks, super kicking everybody 50,000 times, and they're walking around like it's nothing. I'm sorry. To me, and you're a fan of the show as much as I am. Busted Open. Bully Ray always talks about desensitize. He always drops that word. I feel like with AEW, fans become desensitized when it comes to, what's a finish? Because in WWE, WWF, you saw a super kick back in the day from guys like Shawn Michaels, you knew the match was done.
That was it. Somebody like The Undertaker, you might have to hit him twice.
And then, I'll give you another example. Somebody does a DDT. How many times in WWF back in the day did we see DDT be the finish for a match?
It was Jake the Snake Roberts finish. Cactus Jack. Mick Foley had a double arm DDT.
Now you look at AEW, that's become a transitional move.
Edge had a DDT. It was called the Impaler.
Yeah. And it's something, the whole thing with AEW, I just think, it just bugs the shit out of me. Because again, I want to talk about them. I'm a fan of pro wrestling at heart. But maybe it's because I've been doing this long enough that I've always had this mentality that if a company, because I obviously used to do a lot of sports shows back in the day, and if a team, and believe me, living in New York, I know this quite well, most of the New York teams are not good.
You're right. Even the ones that don't belong to us, like the Jets, Giants. Yeah.
But I've always had the mentality of, if they're not doing good, you're not going to criticize them, but you're going to call them out. And once in a while, okay, that's fine. But when I'm calling out AEW every freaking week, because, prime example. A couple weeks ago, I forgot the segment, but all I remember was Christopher Daniels was backstage. And he was getting beaten up. I think it was Hangman, I'm not sure. I think they were coming off that match they had the week beforehand. And also, he's getting beat up, and then all of a sudden the camera panned to him. And that's when he laid down. And I'm like, you have a company here. Yes, I've said this before about Tony Khan. Tony Khan is not a booker. He's not a Paul Heyman. He's not a Triple H. He's a fan who has a crap ton of money from dad, and basically it's, ooh, I have this wrestling figure, and ooh, I have this wrestling figure. Let me just have them have a match for the sake of having a match. Yet the one thing I have pushed for, and I have said it till the cows come home, is if I'm watching a wrestling match, I don't care if it's independent or if it's like WWE, AEW, or any of them, why should I be emotionally invested? Why should I take time out of my day to sit there and watch a match. And the last thing I'm going to say, then I want to move on from AEW here for a second. The people they have, the Okadas, the Mercedes Monets, the Will Ospreys, the fact that they have not, maybe once, maybe twice, have eclipsed 1 million in the rating, really shows you how wrestling fans either don't know the Okadas and the Ospreys and the Mercedes Monets. Because, I'm sorry, when the whole discussion was, well, we're going to bring all these guys in, but, oh, wait, none of them are panning out for us. Yet WWE, if you remember when all that was happening, brought in, what's his face? One of the Tongan, I think it was Tamatonga, I think it was who they brought in at that time. If memory serves me right. And all of a sudden they made him go from a mid-carder to a semi-main eventer. Mm-hmm. But then you look at somebody like Mercedes Moné, it's like she has a title match, she's going to be walking out of there with a title. She's going to need, literally, I kid you not, I think if I'm Mercedes Moné, I go out to Walmart, buy myself a second suitcase just for her title belts. Because I think she's going to need it. So.
You see, for me, and I know we're trying to wrap this up, so I'll just make this real brief. For me, I was an Edge fan. Oh, my bad. We got to call him Colt now. He called himself Colt.
Well, no, not if you saw the shirt he had on AEW last week, where it was supposed to be Legend, but there was a part of it that was spelled Edge.
I mean, you can't spell Legend without Edge, right?
But one more topic I want to get to before we wrap things up. And Tristen, I've had a freaking blast having you on.
Thank you. Likewise.
We just had the passing of Hulk Hogan, and we were kind of talking about this beforehand. We were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about. And I know you did a show earlier today about how the passing of Hulk Hogan has kind of split the wrestling world.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get your thoughts, because what I don't understand is this. And again, what Hogan did 10 years ago, okay, it is what it is. We all make mistakes, okay? We all screw up. We all get to those moments when either anger takes over or we let emotions take control and we say stuff without thinking. And I'm not sitting here trying to defend Hogan, saying, oh, he wasn't thinking when he said what he said 10 years ago. But the fact that the guy died, and we just saw, I don't know if you saw on social media, there's the one wrestler who's in NXT who I think is signed, who's also doing LFG, I think. And he went on a whole thing saying how we support this guy. I'm sorry. Do wrestling fans not realize that if it wasn't for Hogan, WWE wouldn't be where it is today? WWE essentially would be a territory, and we would probably still have the territory system. I mean, I hate to say it, but if it wasn't for Hogan, I don't think you're doing your show. I'm not doing my show. There's no Busted Open. There's no WWE or TNA. And I think people have to realize that if it wasn't for Hogan, none of this would be happening.
Well, you see, John, I think a lot of people realize that. And I think that, as a black man, in case anybody didn't know I was black, surprise, as a black man, I think the issue is that a lot of people grew up, and I grew up at the tail end of Hogan, of his career in the WWE. But Hogan was running around telling people to say their prayers and eat their vitamins. And as a parent right now, I would tell my son, hey, go watch him, because not only does he tell you to pray, but he tells you to eat good. So that's the guy you want to go with. But then he betrays everybody by saying that. And so instead, it's saying what he said. So instead of backtracking, and instead of just saying, hey, you know what? I messed up. I was a little bit emotional. I was in my feelings. What he said was like, well, this is something that me and my friend said when we were younger. Hogan was born in 1953. From 1953 to 1973, it was a span of 20 years. So you're trying to tell me in that 20-year time span when Hogan was growing up, he was walking around with people that looked like me that said that he used to say, hey, what's up, my N-word? No, that wasn't happening. What Hogan should have done was say, hey, like I said, you know what? I messed up. And I'm not trying to talk ill of the dead either, but the thing I say as well, too, is this. There are two people in this world right now when it comes to Hulk Hogan That first person is somebody that respects the contributions that Hulk Hogan made to pro wrestling, and they, for whatever reason it may be, they love the contributions that he made to life as a human being. But there are other people like me who respect the contributions that Hogan made as a pro wrestler, but I think as a person, he's a terrible person for whatever the multitude of reasons may be. So, like, I feel that on social media, because I'm heavy on threads at the Real Big Tris, I feel that people shouldn't be trying to convince the other person why they feel the way how they feel. Because you know what? There are some people that look like me that haven't forgiven Hogan. Because Hogan went out there and gave a half-ass apology doesn't mean that people should just automatically forgive him. For me, my whole issue is the accountability piece. You went out there and said, "Oh, well, I don't understand why people can't forgive, why they can't forgive me." They forgive Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit is a whole different situation to you, unless you're telling me that you offed your family and we don't know. But as far as I know, I don't think you did, because they're posting on social media over the passing. Chris Benoit is a terrible person for what he did. And if you ask me, I think he took the sucker way out, because not only did he finish his family, he finished himself. So he's a sucker for that, because he wasn't able to be accountable for his behavior. Hogan is different. Hogan betrayed a lot of people. And a lot of people are angry over that, because there are a lot of people in this world, John, who don't understand what it's like to have anything racial thrown at them. To at the end of the day, somebody out there, they could be making fun of them being Italian, but the Italian person is still welcomed. That Italian person is most likely not followed around in the store. That Italian person, doesn't get, treated badly or looked at because, whatever they are in life. But a black person does. A person that is Polish, a Polish person, an Irish person doesn't get any of that backlash. But back in the day, they used to treat Irish and Italian people bad. But we've moved on from that. We're still in the day where black people still have to walk around and always wonder, am I going to fit into that situation? I lived a life to where I was in the fire department, and I was the only black marble in a jar full of white ones, and all I wanted to do was fit in. But they didn't want me to fit in. So it's like, or they didn't want me to fit in all the way, because I would hear things people say, "Oh, you're the whitest black guy I know." As a black, ask any black person who is educated, who is articulate, and speaks proper. That is one of the most disrespectful things you can tell us. So for Hogan to go out there and say that, "Oh, well, if you're going to find yourself an N-word, go ahead and find yourself, a successful one or a rich one or one that has money," whatever he said. To us, to some people out there, it's hurtful to us, because you're the same guy that tells, granted, you were playing a character, but pro wrestling is one of those things where the lines are just like really blurry, to where it's like, we want you to believe that who we are is what you see on the TV. And for Hogan to go say that, it was a betrayal. That's what it is. And some people still feel that betrayal. And people feel that betrayal real badly. All we wanted was just a decent apology and just for him to repent and just come through. But he wasn't accountable for it. Somebody told me online, just get over it. You know what? I'm not saying for anybody who's over it, for them to go back and feel a certain kind of way. How you feel is how you feel, right? But there are just some people who they just don't understand. And that's okay. But what I told everybody today on my episode, and the name of the episode was why Hulk Hogan's passing splits the pro wrestling world. What I told people is this: no matter how you feel, you have to understand this. This is the most important thing about this. Why Hulk Hogan's passing splits the wrestling world. This is the most important thing you have to understand. That 6 days ago, somebody lost their father. They lost their uncle. They lost their grandfather. They lost their best friend, their neighbor, their colleague, their business partner. And a lot of people are broken up about it. A lot of people are hurt about it. So we should not speak ill of the dead, because he's not here to defend himself. But my feelings are definitely my feelings. John, I had a friend that told me, you should go make an episode about the history of Hulk Hogan's life. I told him, no, I'm not going to do that for two reasons. Number one, nobody cares, because everybody knows Hulk Hogan's life. I'm not uncovering anything new, number one. And number two, I've made 3 1, 2, 3 episodes on Hulk Hogan, and I trashed him. I drug him through the mud. For me to come on and say, well, we're going to do a tribute to Hulk Hogan, I think that'd be disrespectful. Hulk Hogan is immortal. He will live forever. He lives. I watched a match on Saturday with Hogan versus Rock at the Sky Dome at WrestleMania 18. The match is phenomenal because from what I understand, Hogan went out there as the heel and The Rock was the babyface, but when the bell rang, the fans flipped and they had to call the match on the fly. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was a phenomenal match. Hogan is immortal, but Terry Bollea, he's mortal, and there's a lot of people that's missing him right now.
I get what you're saying, and I can hear your voice. I think the way and again, I see what you're saying, but I think this has been one of those topics. I mean, we talked about it with you mentioned Benoit before, where I think 10, 15, 20 years from now, there's going to still be this uneasy, I guess is the best way to put it, because like you said, there's that split. And I listened to what you just said for the last couple minutes. I see where you're coming from. And the way I look at it, I'm going to leave it with this. Hulk Hogan got 3 tributes, okay? He got a tribute on SmackDown, he got a tribute on Raw, and he got a tribute on NXT. But there's a name I want to mention here. Ashley Mazzaro, who was in WWE, who we all know, what happened with her. She got none. Not even a simple mention. Like I said, if you know the story, if not, we're not going to talk about it right now. Go to Google and you'll read the story of what happened. Why is that? Why is it that WWE then can pick and choose who they're going to do a tribute to?
Honestly, respect, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible to anybody that's watching or listening, however you're consuming this. Ashley Massaro didn't really have the legacy of Hulk Hogan. The most important part, when you said in the tribute for Hulk Hogan, there was one really important part in that whole entire statement that you said. You know what that important part was? Let me see if you caught that important part.
No, what was it?
It was Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan got 3 tributes. One on Raw, one on SmackDown, one on Raw, and one on AEW.
NXT.
And he got one on AEW, so he got 4.
Yeah. But here's the thing, okay?
Well, okay, while you think about your statement, let me button up that last thing. I can tell you, Ashley Massaro didn't get a tribute. But you know who else didn't get a tribute? Terry Bollea. Terry Bollea didn't get a tribute. Because it's not about Terry Bollea. It's about Hulk Hogan and the immortalness that Hulk Hogan will have forever.
I was going to say this. You bring up AEW. You want to talk about a half-assed tribute. And I'm not saying you have to do a full video package and the whole 9 yards for these other companies. But let's just mention this part. TNA did a graphic that came up. IWGP did a graphic because people forget he was the first IWGP champion, which also shows you how big of a person he was. That Antonio Inoki picked an American to represent his company 50-something years ago. I think if I remember correctly, UFC even did one. But they did a video package of hell. ISPW, and obviously you being independent wrestler, you definitely heard of ISPW. They did a tribute for Hogan. But AEW has to sit there on Collision and pan the camera to Tony Schiavone, and he sit there and go, oh yeah, by the way, we want to remember the past with Hulk Hogan. If anybody has to sit here and, say that, oh, they have to get over it, I'm sorry. The fact that Tony Khan didn't even put out a thing on AEW, nothing was even put out until Schiavone made the comment. I don't know. That just didn't. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying you have to do a full video package, but at least a graphic, I think, would have been enough.
So maybe Tony Khan feels a certain kind of way about Hulk Hogan. I don't know. about Terry Bollea. I don't know. I'm freestyling here, but I am not surprised or shocked at what AEW did because Hogan never worked for him, never worked for them. You know, Hogan, AEW is all about diversity. They've got LGBTQ, transgenders, women, men. They got everything in there. They got black people. They got everything in there. And a lot of people that maybe the consensus is a lot of people still felt a certain kind of way. And Tony Khan has played his cards the right way. He's playing to his audience. His audience probably doesn't care about AEW. Everybody wants Hogan to go ahead and get a tribute, but Hogan never did a damn thing for AEW currently. Yeah, of course he paved the way. If it wasn't for Hulkamania, there'd be no WrestleMania. There'd be no WCW going worldwide. There'd be no AEW Dynamite. There'd be none of that. Yeah, we know that. But Hogan was never at AEW, so I don't really feel a certain kind of way because Hogan was not mentioned by AEW. What did he do in the last 5 years for AEW? Nothing. Nothing.
Okay, but he got mentioned by UFC, and as if I remember correctly, what did he ever do for UFC?
Make WWE a big enough company so that they could eventually be bought 40 years later by the same company that owns UFC.
But Tristen, I definitely want to get you on again, and we'll talk about it offline. But I think that depending on your schedule, my schedule, this could become a more frequent thing. I'm just throwing it out there, especially your network, my network. We'll talk offline about that. But
of course,
Tristen, again, I'm glad we were able to get you back on. I promise the next time you'll be back on won't be another 5 years from now.
Okay, you know what? I promise you that the next time I get on, that it won't be I won't wait 5 years to ask you again. I promise.
I'll put it this way. Next time we have you on, we won't bring up certain people, so you won't get so heated.
Well, it's not even that it's heat. For me, it's the passion. And I'm very passionate about pro wrestling. I'm so passionate about pro wrestling that I paid Bubba Ray Dudley, Devon Dudley, and Nunzio and a bunch of other people money just so I can learn how to do it. I love this thing.
Believe me, I totally get that. But last thing before we wrap things up, what do you have coming up? Obviously, promote the show again. And just want to make everyone aware, the link for your show is going to be in the description below. So they won't have to go that far or type anything in. Just click the link and it'll be right there. But what do you have coming up that you'd like to promote? The floor is yours.
Well, coming up that I'd like to promote the Tristen Law Show. We're doing great. We are exceeding in the past year. I've gotten 450 some odd subscribers on YouTube. I'm finally live on YouTube all the time. Right now I'm standing at 497. And right now I'm building a community. I'm not just building a place for me to talk at you. I'm building a place for me to talk with you. Come on over and do that. And coming pretty soon, I'm trying to step up my Grown and Sexy, and what I'm doing is I'm launching a brand new live YouTube podcast. It's going to be Up Late with Tristen Law, because if you're going to be up late, you might as well be up late with me. We're going to be talking about everything from relationships to love to dating, anything. It's adults. We're having adult conversations, and it's going to be starting pretty soon. I got everything already ready, logo already ready, so I just need everybody to keep their eyes posted for that, their eyes peeled, and that's definitely going to be coming out. Up Late with Tristen Law, because if you're going to be up late, might as well be up late with me.
And guys, definitely go check out Tristen Law. Guys, coming up for us tomorrow night from Titan Championship Wrestling, your current Funhouse champion, and also one of the stars of the new highly anticipated movie of Happy Gilmore 2, Big Jeff Noyes, will be on with us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then coming up next Monday, I'm so excited for this one, up from Blitzkrieg Pro, which is a company up in Massachusetts, coming back to the show, the one and only Phil McManus. Guys, again, go check out Tristen Law. Go check out what we have. If you missed tonight's interview or any of the other interviews we've done, you can catch the replay on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, but there's also another spot. Go to Apple, go to Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and just search the all-new ATR Network. We are there. New episodes will be uploaded, if not tonight, by at least this weekend, because I have about 6 or 7 more episodes that I have to upload. And you're not going to miss it, because, guys, like I said, while Tristen Law is making moves, believe me, we're not sitting here quietly. We're also making moves as well. And again, Tristen, like I said, I'm glad we're able to get you back on, and I look forward to having you on again.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, guys. For Tristen Law, I'm John. This has been the Around the Ropes Radio Show. Catch you guys next time.